men gathered on the bullet-swept sand, while the little ships, fishing boats, yachts, motorboats, barges, canoes, anything that floated, streamed to the rescue.
Welcome, my friends. We're going to get right back into this excellent World War II era footage that we have for you today. But in every episode, I like to give you just a little bit of antique trivia, a little bit of history. And today, we're going to talk for a few seconds about Bakelite. Bakelite is what this Admiral radio from the 1940s is made of. It's also what this Western electric phone is made of. And it's a form of plastic that was invented in 1907. The tubes are warming up now. Let me turn this off. So it was invented in 1907. And the interesting thing about Bakelite as one of the first forms of plastic is that once it's molded, you cannot melt it and remold it. Also, it does not conduct electricity, which is very interesting. Before we get to the footage, I just want to point out that this fan has metal blades and it goes very fast. So it's a good thing it's got that protective grill on it. This is a 1940s fan, as well as this light. Also, we have a Royal typewriter from the 40s, and of course my vintage mid-century military clothing today. Oh, one last thing. This cigar box and these cigars inside are supposedly from the desk of Hermann Goering. So I have no way to prove that, but I believe that it is true. All right, let's get back to the footage. What we're going to open up with here is an idyllic scene in the early 1940s of an English coastal town as they prepare for war.
The sun rises over an English harbor. Each day the rising sun looks down on the same scene. And with each dawn, hard-handed, weather-beaten men follow the winding lanes that their fathers and grandfathers knew, down to the sea to fish. They and their boats discharge a simple duty, but from time to time they sail into the pages of English history on another and higher mission. Twice have the little ships of England left their nets and lobster pots ashore and sailed the seas for bigger game. Once when the beacons flashed the news of the Great Armada, and again they sailed 300 years later to the beaches of Dunkirk. Men gathered on the bullet-swept sand, while the little ships, fishing boats, yachts, motorboats, barges, canoes, anything that floated, streamed to the rescue. That strange fleet came somehow back to port. But all along the coasts of England were harbours with moorings that lay empty and unclaimed. Just as the fishermen answered the call to Dunkirk, so the age-old craft of shipbuilding rose to the nation's call, and on Britain's hillsides, in her woods, the sound of axes echoed. When the demand for wooden ships, and indeed for timber of all sorts, suddenly became urgent, a tremendous burden was placed on an old but tiny industry. Now oak was needed for the frames and planks of the new fleets, and elm for their fittings. The plodding timber dray and the laborious crowbar gave way to giant tractors and mechanized monsters that tossed tree trunks about like matches. Down under the bulging sides, the launching gang are at work. And as the last block flies out, the launch is on. Packed together along the quay are wooden craft of all kinds, minesweepers, fishing vessels, fire floats, and the long motor launches for the air rescue service. Here the funnel is being swung aboard a half-finished launch, and even as it is eased down into position, the fitters in the engine room, will be connecting up the copper exhaust pipes, and before long, the hull will quiver to the drumming of the engines as they are turned over for their first trials. It hardly seems possible that this tangle of men, tools, and equipment will ever be sorted out in time for the incoming crew to take over. But it always is, and a few hours after the men have come down the gangplank with their loaded kit bags, they will have the ship shining like a new pin for the not-so-old, old man to come aboard. And now at last, the end of the road is reached. A signal of distress from a damaged aircraft is received by a launch on patrol, and out into the cold, rain-washed morning it heads. From the crow's nest, the lookout sweeps the surface of the water for a dinghy. But the plane is still airborne, and as the launch sweeps up, the pilot bails out, and all eyes are fixed on the white gleam of his parachute as it floats down. No sooner has the parachute touched down than the rescue begins. No easy job with a tired or perhaps injured man and a choppy sea. Think of it, the long fight with a burning plane, a 2,000-foot parachute jump into an icy sea in half a gale, and he can still smile. But his troubles are nearly over now, as he is helped below where hot drinks, expert attention, and dry clothes await him, while the launch swings around and with engines roaring full ahead, makes for base. For them, it is just another job done, but a great job, and one of the many that are being tackled day and night by Britain's little ships.
All right, my antique-loving friends, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that amazing footage from the 40s. And please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you have any ideas for content that I could work on in the future, please do share that in the comments. And if you are looking for some authentic antique items or furniture to embellish your home or office, please consider Old Europe Antique Home Furnishings. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.